Ladies and gentlemen, we meet again for a short and sweet idea, which we can find both in Parshat Korach, which is a parsha we have in Israel this week, and in Parshat Shlach Lecha, which you'll find abroad you're reading this week. But they both share the same idea as far as the reason for the failure of the Meraglim, which is the reason for the failure of Korach. To find out the point of failure, we have to first see that in Parshat Shlach Lecha, the spies, the Meraglim that Moshe sent, ended up in a terrible failure, while the Meraglim that Yehoshua, that Joshua sent, that we have in the Haftorah, was a great success. What was the difference between Moshe's spies and Joshua's spies? So we find something interesting. We find that when Moshe had to send his spies, he mentioned that he's taking Anashim, very important people. Anashim, Rashei B'nei Yisrael Hema, the heads of the tribe, the most important people. And then he goes and mentions them name one by one, their name and the name of their father, Reuven, the tribe of Reuven is called Shamua ben Zakur, etc. And everyone is very, very important. And on the other hand, we have, when Joshua sent his spies, it says Meraglim, Cheresh. Cheresh means silent. Silent means we don't know who they were. Chazal afterwards say that it was Kaleb ben Yefuneh and Pinchas ben Elazar, but that's the Medrash. The Pasuk doesn't say who they were, doesn't say that they were important people, doesn't say their names, just quietly sending them off. What is the point here? The point is, Chazal say, don't say Cheresh, call it Cheres. Cheres means clay. What does clay got to do with anything? So there is a piece in the Talmud that tells us a wonderful story of Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania, who was a spokesman of the people of Israel in front of the Roman emperor. And the daughter of the Roman emperor saw Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania and asked him a nasty question. It said, why is it that you have such beautiful wisdom and your beautiful wisdom is in such an ugly person? So he wasn't confused by the question. He answered her back in a rabbinic way, answering a question, but the question says, tell me, does your father, the emperor, have wines in his cellars? Oh, sure, he does have wines in his cellars. He says, and the wines in the cellars, are they expensive wines? He says, yes, they're the best wines in the world. And the wines, are they in what kind of vessels are they? He says, well, they are in clay vessels. They are in cheres vessels. Why are they in clay vessels? The emperor has clay vessels. It definitely should be in gold and silver. So she hears that, and she goes down to the cellars and puts the wine, the excellent wine, in gold and silver vessels, and the wine goes bad. So the next time he comes, she says, all the wine went bad. I said, yes, the wine goes bad because when the vessel is silver or gold, is full of itself importance, then it contradicts its content. Even if the content is excellent wine, it contradicts it. What the wine really means is a clay, a cheres vessel, something which is not important. That's how it keeps the wine in such a perfect way. Therefore, we Talmidei Chachamim, we might not be so beautiful, but we keep and cherish in an accurate way the wisdom of the Torah. We can keep it better because we are cheres. We are simple. We might even be ugly in some people's eyes, and that is what happened with Yehoshua. Yehoshua sent people silently. It doesn't only mean silently, it means cheres. They didn't see themselves as such important people. And when you don't see yourself as such an important person, then you do what you're sent to do. and they did what Joshua set them to do. However, the spies that Moshe Rabbeinu sent, they were full of their self-importance. Why should we do what Moshe Rabbeinu said? We'll find out. We'll give our own opinion. And they went and they messed it up, and we stayed in the desert 40 years longer than expected. When we come to Parshas Korach, we have something similar in a way that Korach sees himself as a very important person, and Korach takes it with him 250 people, and also it says there in the pasuk very important people. He brings in the most important people, and they stand high in front of Moshe Rabbeinu, full of self-importance and pride, and they come demanding, why did you appoint Aharon, your brother, as the Kohen Gadol? We want to be Kohen Gadol. All the 250 people want to be Kohen Gadol. So does Korach want to be Kohen Gadol? They want to be Kohen Gadol. Why? Because we're important. We're full of pride. And Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, you don't get it. In order to be a Jewish leader, in order to be a Kohen Gadol, the high priest, you need an attribute you do not have. And that attribute is called humility. That is knowing to be humble. It's only a person who knows how to balance his self-confidence and his humility. That is the person we want as a leader, not just a person who's full of himself. A person who's full of himself will not do things in an accurate way. They will distort things, like the Meraglim, like the spies from the previous parsha distorted things. Also Korach, if he would have been appointed as Kohen, he wouldn't do it correctly because he's too important. He'll do it his way, not the way Hashem wants it, but the way his way, because he counts himself. And we have to understand, when we are messengers and we are sent to do something, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the sender, and we have to actually be humble and take upon ourselves the attribute of humility in order to do it in a perfect way. However, sometimes we have to stand up and deliver, and then we have to have self-confidence. Both parashot, Shlach Lecha and Korach, both suffer from the same terrible idea that pride overrides Ratzon Hashem. Pride overrides the will of Hashem in such a way that it distorts the reality. And therefore, terrible things happen to Korach and to the people that were with him, because they're trying to distort our reality. And that will not happen. Moshe didn't let this happen. It didn't happen in the past. We're not going to let it happen now or in the future. Our leaders always have to have the right balance of self-confidence, knowing how to lead, however, knowing when to stop and being sensitive and sensible and being humble. Shabbat Shalom.